Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dogs Down South. I'm your host, Ted Turner. Welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday evening. It is Georgia Alabama week. Excitement is on the brink. Little pre-excitement before all this. Me being in the big state of Florida, and the friends of mine that I'm going to bring on, Mr. Adam Fisher. What's up, Fish?
What's up,
Richman,
buddy?
what's going on, man? We're all sitting here on a little bit of pins and needles with a little bit of a tropical storm slash hurricane heading towards Florida, the Georgia way. So before we even start tonight, everybody, prayers and safety for anything heading our way in the next few days. We hope that it blows on through there. Maybe just gives us a little rain and we can get to football weekend as promised. So praying for safety for everybody in the line of Hurricane Helene. But want to hop right in tonight. Georgia, Alabama week. It's finally here. First big test for Georgia, first big test for Alabama. There's some SEC teams that are still hitting their snooze alarm, still paying teams to come and play them for stats and Heisman winning stats, and that's cool and everything. But we get to some big boy football this weekend. Before we get started, let's hop right in. I just want to kind of go to each of you guys. Fish, obviously, we've been leading up to this game. What are you most excited about Georgia, Alabama? Maybe even nervous about, or just give me your take right off the bat about Georgia, Alabama this weekend.
I think as a long time loyal Georgia fan, I am nervous about this game
Mm.
because it never seems to go our way. And even if we have a team that should beat them, like back in 2021, last year SEC championship, it doesn't seem to matter. It's like there's some sort of stigma attached to them, just like whenever we go to Kentucky. Not when Kentucky comes to us, but when we go to Kentucky, it's always close. It's always close for whatever reason. And it also seems like whenever South Carolina comes to Sanford Stadium, it's always a good game too, because they played us real close last year.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous, especially I'm worried about our offense. I'm nervous about the offense. I want to know, because if you think Kentucky was bad, like Richman mentioned earlier, man, Alabama's going to be disguising what they're doing way better than Kentucky. I think they're a better coached team on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of confidence. I'm ready for us to get this dub. I'm not worried about the defense at all. I think it's going to be just as hard for them to score as it is for us to score. I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game.
Yeah. Rich man, how about you, man? You excited about this game? Nervous?
I'm excited, but I'm like Fish, man. I want to see, is the big dog going to show up, or is the puppy going to roll over and wet himself again, like we seem to do over and over and over? So I'm excited. I think after looking at some film, I think we match up okay. I don't think we've shown out yet, but I'm looking for Saturday to be our day to show out and show up big.
Yeah. So obviously Kirby had his presser on yesterday and seemed pretty calm, collective. Seems to think that the week off went pretty well. He said before, I don't think we don't have the luxury to use these bye weeks as get well weeks. I think we got to get better better weeks. And so I feel like Kirby looked pretty confident. I'm not trying to go off of his look. He has a pretty good poker face. A lot of things he said about injuries seem promising. I heard good things about Michael. I'm hearing hopeful to see Michael out there. Even a hopeful Michael is a 5-star athlete that gives you, whether he's on a little bit of not as active or maybe a little bit slower than normal, you still got a 4-star Michael, which is the brains and the brawn kind of tackle each other. The experience of knowing what to look for, calling plays, shifts on the line. I think he's key to being in that line, and being lining up across from them is going to help. I'm hearing a lot of things about Warren Brinson practiced the entire week last week, which is very promising. That's going to help out a lot. And obviously some other, Jordan Hall. I mean, I've heard he's a go. That's huge. Have not seen him. That's 5-star talent back on the field. We talked about it earlier in the week last week. I mean, just that alone, you got. I mean, it sounds quirky, but you got 15 more stars on the field than you had against Kentucky. And that defensive line, I thought, did as good as they possibly could do running 60, 70 plays a piece. That's tough. It's really tough. So that's promising. So injury things, I heard Carson was fine. He's been practicing all week. All is a go there. They asked him a lot about Jalen Milroe, obviously, because Jalen Milroe is somebody that we all know that kind of makes or breaks what goes on this offense. And also, I would say, as we've seen in the past, when he goes, the team goes. And I don't think that Alabama has been put into too many situations where they had to, defenses have had to go out and, support and play from behind. And so I think that's where they're probably going to sit the best, as every team should. And so it's a lot of dependability on Milroe, but there's a lot of dependability on Milroe as a freak athlete. I mean, Kirby didn't come out and say it, but he basically said, look, this guy it's hard sometimes. It's like, he can beat you with his legs. You think a play is done and he beats you deep with his arm. And, you think something's going to happen and always something different happens. However, he said sometimes it's like almost like you're better off not covering some people sometimes, right? So I kind of want to hear what you guys, because he's a big chunk of why Alabama has been so successful in the past few years. But there's a couple things going against him. One, that is, it's Kalen DeBoer's first SEC game. And notice I said Kalen DeBoer, not Nick Saban. And then, Jalen Milroe coming into an offense where he doesn't have any familiar faces at wide receiver. Some uneasiness on the line here or there. This is not one of their stronger lines they've brought in and put out there. But I want to give you guys a shot at Jalen Milroe. Richman, give me your take on what scares you the most about Jalen.
His legs scare me the most. And obviously, I mean, he's a two-trick pony, his legs and his arm. And his arm only works long. I mean, he's not accurate on the short and intermediate passing. So,
blend him and Carson back together. Make one uber awesome quarterback.
Yeah, that'd be an automatic Heisman right there.
Right. We could then compete with Quinn Ewers. No, go ahead.
No, yeah.
But I mean, it seems like I just think I think Kirby's going to have a game plan that we're going to be able to contain him a little bit better than we did last year. And, he's probably going to get a few, but I think we're going to be able to hold him.
Yeah. Fish, what do you think is going to be the key? I mean, we obviously know, I think I know your take. You look at Milroe's strengths are his legs, but what do you think is going to be key for Georgia to be successful against Milroe and come out with a W if Milroe has anything to say about it?
Mikael Williams and his health level. I think Kirby's being coy. I've sprained my ankle before. I don't know how serious his ankle sprain was, but I feel like with the medical staff and the treatment and the therapy and everything he's been getting up there, I feel like he's going to be at least 90%. And I think that's key. I think Jalen Walker on one side, him on the other side. I think that's gonna limit what they're able to do or what they're going to want to do. I don't think Kirby wants to tell the world that, he's 100%, get ready, Bam. Right. I don't think he wants to do that. It's gameplay, it's chess, but as far as Milroe goes, man, we got to watch that deep ball. That man can throw a deep ball. He is way more accurate than our Heisman hopeful quarterback with the deep ball. And his legs are great too. I mean, he's basically got a third of their running yards, a third by himself of their total team running yards.
Yeah, he's third in rushing, but he's very close to being second. And the only thing that differentiates Georgia and Alabama in rushing is the addition to his yards towards the offense, which we get with Carson. I'm grateful that Carson can get us those yards when he needs to, but definitely not at the likelihood of Jalen being a part of that running game.
Plus, Carson needs to learn how to slide.
Yeah.
He's diving forward way too much or trying to absorb a hit. That's not good. That's not him. We need him.
Yeah.
Like, he's important. Kirby, I hope, is telling that man to slide. Unless, the game's on the line, 1 second left, or time just expired after he snapped the ball. He's trying to get it into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. Then dive. That's fine. Yeah. That's great. But, man, please slide.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of things that Kirby said about the offense and the defense. Obviously, when you look at the offense first, And Nick Sheridan came over from Washington. He was DeBoer's old OC. Runs a very familiar spread offense. There's a couple of different versions of the spread, and then there's kind of a hybrid look to every team. The kind of how they, it's kind of like one of those things. Is it's a cake. You decorate it how you want to, type thing, right? So runs a similar style. But one of the things I said during the offseason was the main thing that will not be successful in this offense is if they come in here and try to copy paste a Penix offense onto Alabama. They have not done that. So that's good for Alabama because so far it's worked out for them. I will say that if I had to look at a couple things that were kind of chinks in their armor before we get there, the offense, there is some people out there that are looking at Sheridan and going, I'm not sure that our offense is actually working on all four cylinders. There's some Bama fans that are not very happy about the play calling. They feel like there's more to it. Kind of like Georgia fans maybe feel when they're like, is there a little bit more out there that we're just not putting into the playbook that we could be a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more elusive? Because if you look at Alabama's and Georgia's offensive stats, to be two teams that are definitely, considered to be playoff teams this year, they are in the middle of the pack in a lot of the offensive categories, crazily enough, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But so Nick Sheridan is getting a little bit of a 50-50 look from the fans. Then you got Kane Womack, who was, University of South Alabama's head coach, came in, obviously opportunity to coach at a big-time university like Alabama. He took it. A lot of success so far this year. I don't know how you measure the success this year. It's hard because and I'll let you guys speak into this with the offense and the defense and what you feel about the offense and defense that stands out the most. But I do feel like when you look at USF and you look at Western Kentucky and Wisconsin, I feel like you can strike out Western Kentucky and Wisconsin because against Wisconsin, you're going against a backup quarterback most of the game. And against Western Kentucky, you're going against a guy that's, no offense to him, a very washed up quarterback in the SEC who's just trying to find a home. Played at Auburn, played at LSU, was supposed to be a big 5-star target and ended up at Western Kentucky. And it just wasn't a good day for him that day. But I will tell you, USF, after looking at the tape, was able to do some things against their defense, and their defense was able to do some things against their offense that was tricky, but yet USF, I think, gave them their best game so far this year. But once again, Alabama hasn't seen an SEC opponent yet this year. So they get their first SEC opponent. It's the first one of the year. It's the first SEC opponent when DeBoer is in the SEC. So this is tricky for Alabama as well. What do you guys think? I'll go Fish to you first. Like what stands out to you about Sheridan, Womack? Like, what have you heard? What do you know? What can Georgia, kind of look forward to? What do you think?
I like the nickel. I like the 4-2-5 that they run. I think that's a good defense. I run a lot of that when I'm playing Madden or college football. I do. I love the 4-2-5.
Yeah.
It's a good defense, and they've got some athletes over there. But I think there's holes, and I think there's definitely some holes in it that we can expose. Them and their competition level this year so far is I think going to be a disadvantage because I think we're going to smack them in the mouth. I don't know if they're going to be ready for us at first. I think we're going to get off to a hotter start than we normally do because Bama's going to have to make adjustments, and I think we're going to find out how well DeBoer makes adjustments at halftime this weekend. This is going to be a big test for him and the whole coaching staff. Milroe knows what to expect because he was there last year. They've got a few people, a lot of people that played us last year in the SEC championship game, but running new schemes all around, the offense is totally different. The defense is totally different. So I think that works in our favor, honestly, because I think if you go Aguero's got speed, he's got size, he can lock down that. I don't know his name. They're legit receiver this year. Remember, he's 17. You're
talking about Williams, Ryan Williams?
Yeah, Williams. There it is. Because he ate Wisconsin up, but they didn't have anybody that could keep up with it. They had nobody that could match his speed. But I think
Wisconsin, man, they overeat cheese before the game, dude. So
I think we just throw a body on him. Play a little bump with him, a little bump and run over there with him, throw a body on him, smack him in the mouth a few times, and I think that'll work itself out. But yeah, like I said, we're going to find out a lot about him this week. We know what we're going to, we know what we can do, but Bama has yet to be tested. So
Yeah.
And they've simplified the offense for Milroe, and the reads are a lot simpler. And I just wonder how that's going to play against our defense. I'm just wondering if that's, by simplifying that, is that going to make it? I just wonder if it's going to be easier to read the what he's doing. And reason I say that's because some of the film I looked at, when they would go empty backfield, he's doing one of two things. Milroe's running, or he's throwing the ball deep, and he did it over and over and over all game. And then some of the other looks, you could see the linemen, their backs would be parallel to the ground on the run plays. So I'm just thinking that some of this simplicity that they put in may backfire. I hope it does.
Yeah.
I hope that we're able to pick up on it and make better reads on that.
Yeah, and you got to think about battle tested, right? So I know this team's been together, but you got to think Saban and his coaches, when you're battle tested with what you look at as some of those guys that played for Saban looked at him, and when he just looked away, they knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is first SEC game of the year. The saving grace is that it's in Tuscaloosa. I think I saw a comment the other day that said, when in the world, it's next year, but when in the world is Alabama actually going to pony up and come to Athens? Well, they got to next year. But my thing is this, it seems like every time we've played Alabama, it's either neutral site or in Tuscaloosa. So they got that going for them again. But it'll be a loud crowd. But for the most part, I think I have what sums it up of the preview is, the pressure isn't on Kalen DeBoer. I don't think there's an expectation to lose this game. But there is an expectation that Kirby Smart understands that, for a long, long time, the excuse was Nick Saban. It's Nick Saban. For everybody that was a protege of Nick Saban, it was always their get out of jail free card. It was like, that's Nick Saban. Yeah. It's Nick Saban. This isn't Nick Saban. So in my opinion, Kirby Smart and his coaching staff, the pressure's on them. And, I wore my shirt tonight, man, my eat off the floor shirt. Listen, guys, I'm coming in confident this weekend. I've told myself I'm coming in confident, and I'm telling you why. It's because I am sick and tired of hearing about how many 4 and 5 stars we have on our team. And I'm sick and tired of hearing about how Travaris Robinson's added, how we've added so much depth to this defensive staff, how Bobo is just getting better and better, how Kirby is evolving. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not coming at you as one of those ballistic Georgia fans, but I'm coming at you as a motivated guy and telling you that there's some skies that are forming for us here. And I'll tell you why. Nobody is expecting us to win this game. Nobody. I see a 67% chance that Alabama is winning it across the board from everybody. Nobody's buying into us. Everybody has us as still making the playoffs, but we're gonna drop a few here or there. Everybody thinks, Paul Feinbaum has already picked Alabama. He says he's an Alabama guy, though. He won't say it, but he's a Bama fan. But at the end of the day, he's picked out, and he says they're just still they can't get over that hump of Nick Saban. It's still, I can't beat Alabama. We've beaten Alabama. That's total bullcrap. We've beaten Alabama. Gives them
a 65% chance to win.
Yeah. So here's my thing, man. This team, two things. It has to understand that if they ever want to be motivated, the motivation is all over the wall. You have nothing. You're predicted to fail. You're predicted to fail. Yet you came into the season and you were predicted as the number 1 team in the league. And you were actually, if you were to go back to 2 weeks ago, the prediction was still for Georgia to go into Alabama and beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So my thing is this: everybody has recircled the carts off of this Georgia-Kentucky game, right? So that's why I'm coming in high. Is if people know our team like they know our team, they know there was much more out there on offense to be seen. It was the play calling. There was much more out there to be seen. Our defensive line was torched with injuries, right? Guys, we are still, right now, statistically, and anybody listening to this podcast, you're hearing me on my soapbox right now. Go pull the statistics. In NCAA, we are the number 1 defense in college football right now. Go pull the record right now. I've fact-checked it, as they call in this voting season. I've fact-checked it. Georgia has the number 1 defense Alabama is not in the top 15. This used to be two defenses that were neck and neck. So pressure's on Kirby, man. I'll let you guys speak into it before we move on to keys to the game, but I am coming in confident because and not because Fish, you're a little nervous. I'm not nervous this year, man, because if we lose this game, I'm posting bail to the coaching staff. It's their job to get this team loose, to get them going out there and go, hey guys, you know the old talk, the Rudy talk. Nobody expects you to win this game. You were picked to be the number one team in the nation, and nobody has you winning this game. So why should you go play tight? There is nothing you can fail at right now because they expect you to fail. So go out.
If you can't get up for this game, then you're not getting up for any game we play for the rest of the season.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're not ready for Alabama, if you're not ready for this game, 2 weeks. They've had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And if they can't get up, motivate themselves, I mean, we fell to like 7th in the FPI Football Power Index or whatever they call it. We dropped to number 2 last week in the AP, which doesn't mean squat, but it's poll. It's what's out now. It's what people talk about. You know, so there should be no problem. Our coaching staff have these boys ready, and they shouldn't even have to work hard to get them ready. Because every single person in that locker room should be ready to come out and get redemption from last year.
There's so much. Richman,
right.
I asked you this before, real quick. I asked you this before one time. We were texting back and forth, and we talk about work a lot, right? All I'm saying is this, man. When's the last time, Richman, that you've gotten to Friday and you go, man, you know what? This is my best week of work. I always have great weeks at work. Brother, if for me, that statement ain't nowhere close to true, man. I have some weeks where I'm just like, you can put that in the trash. I don't ever want to go back to that week. So my thing is, why the hell can't Georgia have a bad week?
Hey, you know what? I think I'm with you. Like, do you think Kirby had a vein popping week last week and a vein popping week this week? You're talking about how he was relaxed in the presser, but he ain't been relaxed for 2 weeks, and he's had how much bulletin board fodder to?
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a perfect opportunity to do whatever the mind warp that he does with this team.
Yeah.
And we talk about it a lot in the offseason about how the players, how when they get in front of the press, they're all on point. They all sound alike. Whatever he does with these guys, it's amazing. He's going to do that this week, and I think they're going to be ready to play. My nervousness is I really feel like the offensive line is they got to block and we got to establish a run. I really think that. But I think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think they are. I think that and if they don't show up, I don't know what you chalk it up to. Coaching, or these 5 stars should have been 3 stars. I don't know.
Well, and it's in our mailbag questions, so we don't want to get them early. But I'm just going to say this: I agree with you, but I don't want to look at like what the reason would be behind it. All I'm saying is this: that the year when you look at it, go pull the ESPN video. It's an old video where Kirby's walking the bench, got a red jacket on, and he's. I would just say that it is not some very choice words for your kids. Don't turn it up too loud. But he's basically telling the players that he's asking them the question. Basically, do you want to eat? How hungry are you? And he's like, dude, he said, all I want to do is just go out there and eat. He doesn't say eat. He says some choice words before it. And man, I just got to think, if you're ready for your best Kirby speech of the year, and there's going to be more because we play a lot more good teams, but your first one of the year where you strike up the band is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the one before. I don't know and I don't want to hear this. Well, let's not get them too excited. Why the hell not? Every single day, man. I want them to be so pumped. Like I told you, man, I want somebody to get a penalty on the first one and it be just okay. I don't care if it's a late hit. I sound unsportsmanlike. I sound really bad, like a bad Georgia fan now. But I'm just telling you, man, something about this team has to say we are loose and we are not worried because we have all the talent. We have great coaches. Mike Bobo has showed he can put a scheme together. The guy has shown. I've looked at our offenses under Mike Bobo and been like, damn, man, we are like, what is this? Who is this Mike Bobo guy right now? Right? Stop calling plays that you're scared to lose with and be pumped up to win with, right? we could go on all day with it. Let's get into let's look at some people. Obviously, Jalen Milroe. Some of these stats are pretty wicked, man. Jalen Milroe leading the way, 35 of 52, 590 yards. The keys for two quarterbacks that I'm going to have you see is they have not turned the ball over yet this year. 0 interceptions for Jalen Milroe. He has been sacked 5 times, though. Who we're going to look at on offense, Jam Miller, Justice Haynes. We recruited Justice Haynes really, really hard, and he chose to go to he chose to go to Alabama. So if that's not some linebacker and defensive line bulletin board material, I don't know what is. But they've combined for over 500 yards. Milroe is a key in that rushing attack. So I would say if you strip away Milroe, they're kind of having the same problem that we have. They want to get the run established for him, but it's not been working for them either, guys. So they continue to go back to what we talked about over the summer, where it's like the offensive line, there's potential there, but it hasn't really shown a lot of things. Ryan Williams, 17-year-old, Jeremy Bernard, they're targeted the most with a combined 18 receptions for over 400 yards. But guys, those receiving yards rank middle of the SEC. Granted, and my thing is, I can't even tell you that Alabama has played a bunch of bad opponents. They've been decent. I mean, they're not playing.
That has a lot more to do with Tennessee and Ole Miss's soft schedule.
Exactly. No, you preach that, bro. Defense.
Sorry.
Campbell, Lawson, Moore. They're the 3 guys. Campbell, Lawson, Moore. They lost a lot on this defense. Remember, they've lost a lot. I'm wondering what this defense looks like when they're back against the wall, when they're sweating a little bit. They showed it against USF a lot. If anybody's listeners, which I haven't said this yet, but if you do turn this on and you're listening, please go follow on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube. Trying to get to 1,000 followers on YouTube. Make sure you go follow. We are on Apple Podcasts 24 hours after this, so you get to rock this during your hurricane prep or during while the hurricane's here. We have power, so make sure you go back and grab this. But those are the 3 main guys that are causing a lot of havoc. Not as many sacks and hurries as this defense is normally used to. That's a key topic. Keon Sabb is a guy that when he left Michigan, he had Georgia on his list to possibly come to in the portal. He went to Alabama. Why? Because Keon Sabb is probably kind of taking the role of Caleb Downs. He does have a couple of interceptions, but I'll tell you what I see about Keon Sabb is he takes a lot of chances in that secondary, which is not very Nick Saban-esque, and which tells me if you take the chance at the wrong time with some of the receivers that we have, it could be a long day. And then only 7 sacks this season. That's not I look back at some of the old defenses from Alabama, and around this time of the year, 4 games in last year, they were in double digits in sacks. They were in much higher in interceptions. They were causing a lot more havoc, as Kirby likes to say. Big stat comparisons. I want to ask you guys what grabs you on this. So Beck and Milroe passing, virtually neck and neck. And I would say the difference is obviously Milroe's legs, but as far as an accuracy standpoint, Beck's a little bit better than Milroe. But Beck's got 680 yards of throwing with a very off night at Kentucky. 56 of 82. Milroe's 35 of 52 for 590. What jumps out to you as guys as far as, I know, Fish, you mentioned Beck's inability to throw the deep ball, Milroe's inability to throw the intermediate ball, the legs, like what really stands out? I'll go to you, Richman, first. Like, what stands out about these 2 quarterbacks? Who has the upper hand as far as like who you would take on that day?
Yeah, I'll take Beck because Beck can hit the long ball. He's just, how many chances has he had this year? I mean, he's missed a few, but they haven't given him a lot of chances. And that's one thing. That's one thing I'll, if I could ask the coaches, I'd be like, why aren't we taking more shots to get him confident?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I don't know what's up with that, but this game they're going to have to take a few shots. So, but I would take Beck. I mean, Milroe's a great athlete, but I just all legs and all long ball.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just can't get with it.
Well, and you look at that 4.25 too, and you realize I'm only, the 4.25 is built off of somebody kind of like Kentucky, even though Kentucky runs a 3.35. It has a 4.25 look because they were walking a guy up and making him play big, right?
Yeah.
So same way with that, they turn it into like a hybrid 4.3 where they're asking if they're gonna sneak somebody in the box, it's gonna be a secondary person, right? It's gonna be a DB. So my thing is like you're 3-3-5, like you're giving that extra linebacker type thing, whereas you're wanting more on the defensive line. I think that's where Michael Williams is kind of being camouflaged as a key player per Fish. But when you look at that, I think it tells the tape a lot of you're going to have to, like, those linebackers are not going to be able to, you're going to have to get them out of their comfort zone because they have to do a lot of things in the middle of that defense because they don't have but two of them, right? So when you look at both sides of that, yeah, you can do as much as you want to in camouflage. I can guarantee you that at least 2 or 3 days of stuff this week was throwing the kitchen sink at Carson. Like, they were probably lining up defenses in all wacky forms. They were probably sending people from all different areas where they shouldn't come from. I think scout team work this week was on defense was, hey guys, we need to camouflage as much as we possibly can.
Yep.
But it's key. What about you, Fish? Like, what stands out about Beck and Milroe are neck and neck pretty much as far as where they stand as far as quarterback play in the SEC. I think they're around 6 or 7 in both categories. What stands out about both? Which one would you take?
Richman had some good points, but Beck has as many completions as Milroe has attempts, and only is out throwing him by 100 yards. What's up with that?
Yeah,
like that.
That's because Milroe only completes 40-yard passes.
That's crazy.
And Beck throws the short intermediate, which that's his bread and butter. I get it, but man, come on, that dude can sling it. I know he can. Like,
if that stat's used on game day, just remember that is quoted by Fish and Richman. So we need to be on game day Saturday. That's not an eyeball opening snap.
I mean,
everybody
likes to say that our coaches are holding back. So maybe they've been holding Beck back.
Maybe they have, but let us Buck go, man.
I would say that's the craziest thing in the world. But
here's the thing, if we run zone for 3 yards, swing pass that's dumped off for 2, and we concede for 3rd and 9, I don't know about you guys, but I think, do we win more by going shot 1, shot 2, and on 3rd down running a screen? I don't know, man. To me, we tell a bigger story if we take 2 shots and a screen pass than we do zone and a swing pass, because that's Georgia's DNA. But to me, in Tuscaloosa, like, get behind this game plan. Throw deep twice. Don't even think about it. And if it's an interception, all right, deal with it. But at least you've rocked the game plan.
Line up under center and run some play action and dump the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, just go play. Just go play.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, it's so predictable when Arian Smith's out there. I love him. He's one of my favorite players on our team. But I'm glad he worked on his hand situation that he had going on last year. But if he's on the field and he goes in motion before the snap, how predictable is that?
Yeah.
It's either going to be a shovel pass to Arian Smith, a swing to Arian Smith, or it's going to be a run up the middle.
Yeah.
That's all we do. And we did that so much against Kentucky. That play was ran so much. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's why it was 13-12. I'm not Mike Bobo. I'm sure that he has that job for a reason. But come on.
Dude,
who's making that call?
They need to line him up at wide receiver every play and let him go to the flag. And eventually he's going to wear out that corner or that safety.
Exactly.
Then throw it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'll never hear Kirby say this, but intuitiveness is something that he's very good at, and he's never going to throw any of his coaches under the bus. It's a lot of SEC coaches, but I will say that Kirby, I'm sure, had for better sake, is I won't say a cold beer, but he had a Gatorade with Bobo this week and said, "Hey man, listen, at the end of the day, we gotta, this would have been a good week to have Monken just come back down, and I know Monken's got his hands full with the Ravens right now because they finally won a game, but like have Monken come back down and be like, hey man, listen, you got to look at, let me give you a little hype right here. We're still looking for playmakers. We are not forcing Beck to call a play and check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's never been about that. Last year's offense and the year before that was successful because when the ball was snapped and there was a pass play, the first 2 checks were Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey.
That's true.
and then everybody else. So give it to him easy. Why do you think Ryan Williams and this other kid,
Uh,
this other kid, Jeremy Bernard, why do you think they're the only two guys that have seen 18 throws? Because Milroe's going check, legs, throw it away. And I'm not saying that we don't get the third progression. We do have a great, and that might be a curse. You know, they always talk about, well, Beck, he spread the ball around to 25 receivers. If that's an uncomfortable statistic to have, get rid of it. Like, I'm sorry that we're not a school that throws to all five, so we can't go and recruit and go, well, look, if we're five wide, man, you're going to be in the game half the game. If you don't want to come play for UGA and be a wide receiver and be a target for 2 out of the 4 years and have the possibility of getting 1,000 yards and starting in the NFL, I'm sorry. But that's how it's got to be, man. Like, Ryan Williams was told that. He was told that he was going to get targeted a lot because of X, Y, and Z. That kid's 17 years old with the best veneers that a 17-year-old could ever have, that NL could ever have bought, and he's wearing them illegally in the game. But he is playing high school football right now. He's just going out and playing backyard ball, right? Go deep, man. Go deep. That's because everything else. And guess what? He's being looked for. So I think you got to look at Beck and go, hey, man, you don't feel bad. Snap the ball. If you want to look for Delp, if you want to look for Dom and Dylan in that order, look for it.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. If he's if he's going to hit 2 or 3 deep balls in the first half and 2 or 3 deep balls in the second half, what's that going to do to the run game?
It's going to open it wide open. It's reverse psychology, man. Reverse psychology. We've been trying to soften the offense with establishing the run. Why don't you soften the offense by establishing the pass and then the run? I mean, it's just that old term. Yeah, science. Like, what? It is some kind of science, man. I'm sure there's some kind of equation for that, right? It just doesn't make any sense. We got to have something different, and I'm sure there's many podcasts talking about it, but we're probably right in line with it. But and then when you look at this stat, this kind of blew me. Total offense. This just kind of blew my mind. Total offense: Alabama 1,400, Georgia 1,200. 200 yards is the difference in the 13th best offense and the 32nd best offense. 200 yards, which is 200 yards we missed out on in Kentucky. But that was eye-opening. Rushing, Alabama's at 714, Georgia's 437. That's the eye-opening stat. But Milroe is 172 of those yards.
Yep.
Right. That's not an excuse, but I am just telling you that's not from legit. The inability. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying you're right. I was agreeing with you. That's legit.
That's not the inability to run the ball. That's the fact that if you could tell me that the running back had the third option to go run the ball, the intentionality of handing the ball off is to run the ball. You know, Milroe is making something out of nothing with 172 of those yards. So I feel like both teams are still feeling a little bit of the same thing. They're trying to get the run going, but it's not happening, and they're struggling from it in some areas. Milroe's the difference. Georgia's neck and neck in receiving yards. Nothing really scares me about their receivers, which tells me one thing. It's like, if I'm Kirby, man, I'm like, you want to leave some of these receivers open, man? Do you want to key on Milroe and make this guy uncomfortable and make him beat you with receiver 3 and 4? I don't know, man. That's me. Tight end, that's me, man. Because we've learned that you might have to throw a 10-yard pass, but it's a hell of a lot less accurate than that 40-yard pass is. Yep. Just for some reason, right? Defense, I mean, here's the thing, man. Georgia leads the SEC with 606 yards allowed. Closest is Tennessee, which is actually based off of 4 games. Tennessee's played 4 games. So the closest person to them is a Tennessee team who's played 4 games and allowed 100 yards more. That's it. In an extra game, they've allowed 100 yards more. That says a lot about Georgia's defense. Leads the SEC in passing defense. Georgia's only allowing 274 yards a game passing. Alabama's very close in second by 347. So we know it's going to be hard to throw on either of these defenses. So, which hints even more reason to stretch the field.
So we man up on their receivers, and then we stop the run.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that's going to play into it. I think Milroe will eat his own coverage alive. I think he needs to be under pressure, and he's got to make tight window throws. And if he does, that's fine. but he hasn't. I mean, at least he'll beat us by doing something that he hasn't been able to do against the other team, because he hasn't been able to do that. USF tape's going to be very key. I would even say go back to last year's Georgia game. I hope that tape comes up, because we'll see a lot where we had opportunity. And Travaris Robinson was coaching against us. So I'm sure that video footage has come out, and Robinson has said, this is what we did. This is what our players were thinking right here. That's going to be key right there. A couple more stats before we get into mailbag, but Georgia's fifth against the run in the SEC, allowing 332, even after a Kentucky game where the sky was falling. I guarantee you, man, if you keep hammering a wall, if it ain't breaking, I guarantee you it's still denting. So they didn't
Tennessee
score.
Tech ran the ball against us like 50 times.
I agree.
I mean,
they got yards.
Thought they saw a weakness. They thought that there was a weakness because our D line is so like undermanned right now, which it is. Because we've got a bunch of unproven guys out there, people that nobody really knows about. All we know is that they were a 4 or a 5 star. That's all that everybody knows. And
agreed.
If people run the ball against us, like you said, like you hit a wall enough, it's going to dent. Like you're going to chip at it. Like pieces are going to go flying.
Yeah, against 2 defensive linemen that turned into combined 120 plays that game. Like, guys, I don't know about you, man, but when you line up and you go and you're beating your head against the wall of an offensive lineman for 60 plays, it's going to get tiring, man. And then you're telling me I got to chase this guy, and I got to look out for this gap, and I got to watch that gap. And oh, by the way, they're passing. I got to get my arm. Like, bro, that's hard, man. I got no rotation. When they rotated, they were not confident in Ajonye and them to come in and go, you're not completely. You just feel. I thought they thought Ajonye was a little bit lost. Same way with I forget my other guy. Big kid came in, few snaps, but it just didn't feel confident outside of Nazir and Christian Miller. But now it's like you add that depth of Warren Brinson back in there. You get Hall in there. You get some Michael in there. This all of a sudden you got 30 plays on those legs, and you give me a 30-play Nazir Stackhouse in the fourth quarter against Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't even score. Like, it's not a close game. We've sealed the deal, and we didn't have that. Last stat that jumped out to me is one that's going to shock you guys is Alabama comes in 9th out of 16 teams in the SEC in rushing yards allowed this year. Not the same front against the run in the past. This has usually been a team that is, I would just tell you that it is a ridiculously ugly number that they allow as far as rushing yards against them. Like, I've seen in the midst of Nick Saban defenses allowing uglyish 40 to 50 yards a game type offensive. This is not that, as we've seen so far. And these teams that we're talking about, guys, they're not Clemson, Kentucky, and Tennessee Tech. It's Western Kentucky, Wisconsin, USF that is running the ball against them like that.
Right.
So do we have some, do we look at hitting them deeps, and that run game gets really scary? I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I knew some of these stats would loosen us up a little bit. But let's hop into mailbag real quick. I want you guys to dive into this. Let's hop in number one. This is if you hadn't already done so, dogsdownsouth@gmail.com. Send any question you want in there. I received a couple of questions. I received a spam one from TikTok. It's in here. I say it was a spam one because I don't recognize like any kind of name or anything like that. But I'm going to read it. I have a couple of TikTok questions in here that were asked in a couple of my TikTok videos from last week. So they're in here. Number one, I asked this earlier in the week. You guys think this is a dying dynasty? As far as I know, the sky's not falling in Tuscaloosa, but we're talking about Nick Saban here, right? So it's kind of like, I look at it as running backs are only good for so long in the NFL. Todd Gurley was an incredible back, but when years started passing and he got hit and his knees start getting bad and this started happening, it was a little bit of a dying breed. So obviously this is a team that's losing Nick Saban. It's losing the backbone of what's going on at Alabama. Is this a slowly but surely no longer a team that's automatically going to be in the college playoff race? Automatically, how long are they going to ride Nick Saban's coattails? Or is this a clean handoff to Kalen DeBoer and this dynasty is still full blown? What do you think, Richman?
I don't think it's too early to tell, but I think it's going to pretty much rely on his recruiting. How well is he going to be able to recruit and reload down here in the South?
Yeah.
Because he's already proven he could get to the dance. But he's going to have to recruit his kind of players. And then again, is that type of football going to play in the SEC? That also remains to be seen. So in my opinion, it's going to slip a little bit. We're just going to have to see what kind of talent he can retain.
Yeah. Fish, I'll give you the second question. Georgia's inability to run, right, the football this year. Is it, and Fish, I'll give it, Richman, I'll give it to you too, because I know you're an offensive line guy. But Fish, is this more scheme, or is it like just brutal ability? Like, is it scheme or ability? The reason why our offensive line just really looked, and this is for I know we got some listeners that are like Kentucky. They're gonna hold fast to Kentucky until they see something different. Is it scheme or is it talent?
Look, see, everybody seems to forget that Bama was neck and neck with a non-SEC team, non-Power 4 team. I don't even think they're a Group of 5 team. I'm not sure, but they were 14-13 with them until 10 minutes left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason they're not talking about that or saying anything about that or, oh, my God, the sky's falling is because Bama rolled off 28 points on a tired defense. Mm-hmm. They started losing, they started, making mental errors, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, a lot happened. A lot went into that 28 points and then rattling it off like that. But it was 14-13 until 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think it's hard to say. Richman probably knows a little more about this than I do, but I think against Clemson especially, Branson Robinson couldn't do jack. And then we put Nate Frazier in there, and he starts jumping around, bobbing and weaving, running outside, hit like a little more speed than Robinson has. And then that opened things up. That opened things up a lot.
I think that was mental. Yeah. He just wasn't ready to go.
And then against Tennessee Tech, you see Robinson start to dance around a little more instead of just running straight at the hole. I don't know. Our offensive line doesn't seem as dominant, which is kind of weird to me because we have a couple of guys that played all game, every game last year. We did lose Ratledge. So I don't know how bad that's going to affect us. I don't know how good his replacement's going to be because we didn't really see a whole lot in I think, what was a quarter and a half that he wasn't in the game last week, Ratledge. So
yeah, I'm extremely I like Dylan Fairchild and Micah Morris. Micah Morris is the strongest offensive lineman on the team. So those are I'm not that I don't like Tate, but I'm not as concerned about that spot. I'm more concerned about Ernest Green's spot this week. I think they've seen that tape on Ernest Green, and I like Monroe Freeling over there more than I like Ernest Green. And I'm not down on Ernest Green. I just know Ernest Green needed for the last 2 weeks. Hopefully he took his Wheaties and understood, and when he looked at the tape and look where he messed up. But Richman, what do you think? I mean,
I'll tell you. So there's something else too, and this affects Bama, it affects us. All of your big Power 5 guys. When you're putting these 360 pounds, 6'6" guys in there, a lot of these teams that we play early in the season, for whatever reason, their defensive players are not that big and they're more athletic, and we don't match up well. Alabama doesn't match up well, and what you said, Fish, is right. In the fourth quarter, they're so tired, then you'd kind of take over. But those guys, these little bit small, 300-pound, more athletic defensive tackle versus these 360 guys, they work them over. They can play ball. They just are. It's a different matchup. Now, when you play Georgia and Alabama going to match up, you're matching up the same caliber guys and big guys. And so it'll be a little bit different. I think you're going to see it a little bit different this week.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving it up to the coaches. I think they coached him up. I know Green has performed before. Last year, he did well most of the season. He was fundamentally off, so hopefully they get that coached up. Yeah. And if not, they get somebody else in there.
Freeling looked, like I said, I haven't given up on Ernest Green. He's a huge talent. He's actually early, once again, he's when you look at Ernest Green, they're giving up on him, but at the end of the day, there's some technique things that,
you got to line up right. You got to stay over. You can't get over the top of your feet, or you're going to be in the grass. And if you're in the grass, you can't pass block. And he was just getting smoked,
Yeah, agreed. Where's the game one? I have some ideas about this, but I'll give it to you first. We'll go Fish. Where do you think the game's won?
Line of scrimmage. I think we've got to. I think just based on what Bobo does and what he likes to do, what Georgia traditionally likes to ground and pound and then open up the passing game. I don't think that's what we need to do. I think we need to let Beck just go out there and turn it loose on that first drive, take some shots, because they're going to think we're going to run the ball. They're going to expect us to run the ball, and because Beck's long game is not great. But who knows? Maybe he's been working on it.
Maybe it is great. We just never seen enough of it to know.
And that's true too. That's very true. That's a good point. But
you don't think Beck worked on that for a year?
Well, I hope he did.
I mean, with the goals that he has and what he wants to do, he had receivers out there all year long working on that. I think he's got it. I just don't think they've allowed him to showcase it yet. And you can't throw one a game and call that he missed it, so we're not going to do it. I mean,
yeah. Bubba does seem to shy away from it if it doesn't work the first couple of times, except run the ball. And
and why don't you just not don't how about this one, just not do a written plan? We're going to go 20 plays and script it like this.
Yes, please don't do that.
Just go out there and just go no huddle first rip. Throw the first ball in no huddle and get him in his comfort zone.
That would be awesome. That would be fantastic if they went no huddle and non-scripted, and they just whatever they're giving you, take it.
Yeah,
take it and run.
That would shut all the Bobo haters up.
Yeah, and I think it would. Like Alabama's going to come in and they're going to try to. I mean, they're going to try to just script what they're doing towards what Bobo's doing.
Play of the game, they're going to stack the box. You watch.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. I think personally, I'm gonna tell you where I think the game's won, and it's not. It sounds weird. It's not a particular place, but there's three people that I think have to have great games. One of them is Jalen Walker. I think the more you see him in Milroe's face, the bigger the difference in the score is for Georgia in the win column in the winning number.
That man around all day.
I think the more that Milroe sees that Jalen Walker is a problem, the more he gets concerned about how he is going to maximize the offense and what it can do. Yep. The second player that's going to be very key is, I think you're correct, Fish. I think Michael Williams is going to be huge, because the fact that he is a guy that gives them speed off the other edge. I mean, Jalen Walker has just shown to be immensely fast, but I think if Michael's the key, because they may spy a lot with Jalen, because he has that speed and toughness to keep up with Milroe. But the third name out there that I think has to have a really, really good game is Malachi Starks. And because there's going to be a lot on him to get those young guys into understanding what's going to happen when things happen. If Kirby is going to do some exotic things up front, he has to be able to depend on assignment football in the back. So he's going to have to make sure he's lining those younger guys up in the right place. Even though Everett and Humphreys have played in games, this is not one of those where it's like, hey, I've been here, done this in Tuscaloosa. It's tough. Malachi Starks is going to have to be a big boy that day. And it's just like we talked about with Beck. It's not so much in his talent level. It's what he knows and what he sees. He's going to have to be the quarterback of that defense on the backside. And we're going to have to be able to take some chances up front, and the back and the defensive backs have that front, have their back. I think that's where the key is you got to get Milroe really, really, really uncomfortable. After that, man, I feel like the offense is going to get something started, and it's going to do enough to win the game. Our offense is not, guys, our offense isn't bad. We had a bad week, and I'm hoping that we will go live next week as we prepare for Auburn, and I'll be able to look and go, guys, offense is okay, right? That's what the hope is. But last question before we get into picks. Do we see Mike Bobo possibly, this was a TikTok question. Do we see Mike Bobo possibly doing like a Will Muschamp after this year, Kirby kind of going out and getting a flashy, high-powered spread style coordinator, and kind of Bobo becomes like a Will Muschamp kind of guy. Is that the miss? I mean, Georgia's defenses have been elite for as long as we can imagine since Kirby's been here. I mean, even the first year they were here, it was a completely different turned around defense.
That's not unplausible because there's going to be some on the market pretty quick.
I agree. I totally agree. So this was the question posed. Like, obviously, I don't think Bobo's going to like take a back seat, but does it get to a point where Kirby goes, I don't know how long we can be sustainable in this SEC with a Sark calling plays, a Levy? Does Mississippi State catch up in the defensive category, and then Levy gets a crew in there, and Levy's got this high-powered offense coming over, Lane Kiffin, whoever they put in at Florida. You look at, I think I said Sark, you look at Heupel at Tennessee. How long can Georgia be sustainable in the defense winning football games and the offense trying to just do enough?
Yeah, that's a fair question, and I don't think I think that's something that has to be addressed. I think, especially after this year. I mean,
yeah, Fish.
I think Bobo is unfortunate in his time of his hiring because he's replacing somebody who rattled off 2 natties in a row. I mean, and really, really hard shoes to fill, almost like DeBoer replacing Saban. Like it's close to that. It's not on that level, but it's close.
Yeah.
And he's expected to be excellent every day.
Yeah.
He can't have an off day. The offense can't not show up without, oh my God, Facebook calling for his job. Even if we win, like everybody likes to blame him, and he's got one of the hardest jobs in the SEC.
Yep.
I mean, because it's excellence or nothing for the fan base, and thank God Kirby doesn't feel that way, as far as we know. But Kirby might be thinking that. I think all that depends on how the season goes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we rattle off, even if we lose one and we rattle off 9 more wins, 10 more wins, whatever, and make it to the playoff, win the Natty, then I think his job is definitely safe. Can't question it. But if we go out in the first round of the playoff or miss the playoffs for some reason, for whatever reason, if we lose 2-3 games, and don't make it, then definitely I think he's going to be the scapegoat. I think it's all going to get thrown at him.
And I don't think these guys, I mean, they've all been head coaches, and I don't think they're doing this for the money. I think they're doing this because they love the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
And I don't think he would take offense to saying, hey, I'm just going to step back and take care of the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bring somebody else in and put them in the hot seat. I don't think he'd be upset about that. I don't know him, but I mean, I just kind of get a feel for how these guys are. And I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that happen.
Dude, if this offense breaks out and we're all just overreacting right now and we go out and, I mean, do I think we're going to beat the majority of the Tennessee / Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas, those games? Yeah. Do we
Tennessee
slip on one?
Saturday.
It's hard. It did. But I tell you one thing, if the offense looks good at all 4 of those games, and if the offense looks good the rest of the season, bro, you have my word right here. I will get me a Bobo jersey. I'll have one made. You can do that nowadays. I'll have a Bobo jersey made, and I will rock that thing, man, on this thing. I will be the biggest Bobo fan. Number 14, Bobo. Maybe I just get me a Drew Bobo jersey and call it. It'll be easy to get my hands on that. But it's going to be an exciting weekend, man. Let's pick these games. We're running short on time, but let's pick them. Let's hop right in. This is our early game of the week. Virginia Tech at number 7, Miami. Miami's getting 19 points against Virginia Tech. This is a team that lost to Georgia Tech at the beginning of the year. Richman, who you got on this one?
Miami. And
Miami covers.
Yeah, they'll cover.
Okay, what you got, Fish?
Tech is hot garbage. Give me Miami spread.
Tech's hot garbage, man. Yeah, I got Miami in this one too. I think Miami's not that place where I look and go, man, this is a hard place to play. I think that stadium is kind of like, it just reminds me of like, it's like everybody borrows that stadium. Does it ever get that feeling there? It's like it's not really their home.
They do. The Orange Bowl, the Dolphins. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's totally. Like everybody rents that stadium out. So it's not like one of those daunting places to play. So It's not one of those crazy home games. I think Miami wins. I don't know if they cover, but that's for me. Kentucky at number 6, Ole Miss. This was lining up kind of like the Georgia game. I don't know. I mean, Ole Miss has got 17.5. Georgia had 24. Fish, we'll let you go first on this one. Who you got on this one?
Ole Miss, not sure if they cover or not, but Ole Miss is definitely getting that dub. Kentucky's not going to win this game. I don't think they're ready for that offense. Thought the same thing about our offense, but Kentucky obviously knows how to coach up a defense and scheme for a certain type of team. And I think Kiffin, if they can scheme for us, they can scheme for Ole Miss. And I think it's close, a lot closer than 17.5. But Ole Miss wins.
Ole Miss wins for you. What about you, Richman?
I agree, 100%.
Ole Miss for this one for me. My only insert is, what if Kentucky does this same little storyline to them, right? And kind of prints out this formula for going, you see, like Ole Miss has been playing, a bunch of, I don't know what you call it, 1AA teams that, that they're not really great, but it's like
Kentucky's schedule.
Yeah, but what if that plays out, right? What if Kentucky has that same type of game against an Ole Miss? It proves a couple of things. It proves to Georgia that it's like, well, everybody looks and goes, well, Kentucky, I get it. They've had their problems. But a lot of people are looking at Kentucky and they're just unpredictable right now. They've seen some Kentuckys that are good in those 4 games. They've seen some Kentucky teams that are not great at all. I have Ole Miss too, but I don't know that they cover. I think this game is still very close. The only thing I say is they don't have to play in that awkward Kroger Field, so that gives them a little hunch. Number 15, Louisville at number 13, Notre Dame. Louisville's been coming on pretty strong. I'll pick this one first. Notre Dame's 6-point favorites. I think Louisville's hot. I think, I think Freeman is looking for some games to continue to give away so that somebody interesting will go to Notre Dame and be another flop failure until they decide to, join a conference. I got Louisville in this one. Upset alert right here. This weekend beating Notre Dame because Riley Leonard can't throw for a touchdown. He's only run for touchdowns. He threw his first one last week. Who you got, Richman?
Same thing. I got Louisville.
Who you got, Fish?
I'll take Louisville and the points.
Yeah.
Louisville and the points. I honestly think, man, this Notre Dame team I don't know about G-Man, but it's like Louisville is actually coming on really strong. I like what I've seen, but I don't know, man. Freeman's got to watch out. He could be gone. See, number 21, Oklahoma at Auburn. Oh, God. Scratch my head for Auburn right now. A lot of you guys, if you're tuning in right now, I did a little quick early look ahead with Mr. Tim Estes on Sunday. Go check that one out. We talked a little bit about Auburn. We'll let him talk about what's going on in Auburn so you can catch all of our opinions on that one. It's already up, episode 30. But man, Auburn at home, Oklahoma's 2.5. Is that enough? Who you got? I'll let you go. Fish, I'll let you go first. Who you got?
I think Oklahoma showed us that their defense can hang Saturday because what Tennessee have? They finally played a real team and only scored 20-something points.
Yeah.
The offense didn't look near scary. Nico didn't look nearly as scary or as impressive Saturday. So whatever Oklahoma.
Heupel called off the dogs is the story against his old Oklahoma counterparts that fired him. There ain't no way I'm calling the dogs off, bro. That's a lie.
Josh Heupel's starting to turn into one of those coaches that you just want to see lose. You just want him to get beat like Spurrier back in the day. Whoever he's playing, doesn't matter if it's Georgia, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee. I don't care who it is, just beat him. I don't care who does it, just beat him. Josh. But anyway, Auburn's got to figure that offense out, and I think Oklahoma's defense is legit. And I don't think until Auburn can figure out that quarterback situation, good Lord, because they could not score points, and I don't know how many turnovers they had.
5 interceptions.
And so that's ridiculous. You cannot win a game like that. So Hugh Freeze is going to have to make a decision. And apparently the second string quarterback didn't play. They went from first string to third string and back. So whoever's sitting there in the middle, I don't know who. My wife told me, but I can't remember. Didn't play. Didn't see.
Hank Brown started, and they went back to Peyton Thorne.
Exactly. So whoever was sitting there in the middle didn't see the field, and he's either terrible or Hugh Freeze didn't want to make himself look bad by second guessing a situation or a decision. I don't know. I'm sorry to ramble on, but give me Oklahoma.
Who you got? Who you got on Richmond?
Oklahoma.
Guys, listen to me. It has to be Auburn, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I don't know if you guys know this, but Oklahoma will be starting a new quarterback as well that game. Guy came in, threw for 147 yards and a touchdown against Tennessee, sparked the offense a little bit. But listen, Auburn has to win this game, and I'll tell you why. Because if Auburn doesn't win this game, Auburn alum will start Hugh Freeze's buyout. And if you think they won't buy him out, I don't know if you guys read this story. There's apparently a guy, Bo, I don't know his last name. Go check the story out though, but he's spilling the beans, man, about how, Hugh Freeze never did anything for him. He said, he basically, if I didn't catch passes and I didn't do what I needed to do for him to get the victory, he said, you go back and listen to his press conferences. It's I. Last year it was his coordinators, but Hugh Freeze hired those coordinators. And this year it's his quarterbacks. It's his team. If Auburn doesn't win this game, man, Auburn's not waiting, man. They're not waiting. Five home games. You're supposed to be 4-1 or 5-0 right now.
Brian Harsin had a better record through those first 17 games than Hugh Freeze has.
I'm just telling you, the savings account will start after this game.
No, you're right. No, I agree.
Dude, this is some of the highest entertainment there is.
I'm just telling you, man.
I love watching Auburn fire coaches and hire coaches. Dude, that's almost as fun as watching football.
I mean, they can't go to Georgia the following week. And, I mean, he's going to go, but we won't even go there yet. Mississippi State, I got Auburn upset because if they don't, it just ain't going to be good. Texas
Sam got you drinking the Kool-Aid.
Has Mississippi State. He doesn't actually. He's actually just kind of down on Auburn now. He's like, he's like, look, man, he's like, we're struggling. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm trying to throw you a feather or something. Oklahoma can't get their offense going. No, Auburn's defense looked good. They just you can't keep bailing them out of bull crap. It was crazy, man. Like, yeah, that gets you fired, and then it gets you to look. I mean, by the way, Hugh Freeze, you're calling your plays now. You're calling your plays. So I don't want to hear it anymore. Mississippi State at Texas, number 1 ranked team, 38.5 points favorites for Texas. Who wins it, Fish?
Texas, no points. And I don't think they cover.
I don't either.
But Texas is definitely winning. Mississippi State is having a rough year this year. They're having a rough go.
I'm hearing that Ewers is back at practice this week. So who knows who we see? Who you got, Richman?
I got Texas, but I don't think they'll cover as well.
Yeah, I got Texas, and if Florida beat this team that way and pound them like a drum, they cover, man. Florida's bad, and this either this week or next week could be the week, man. I'm definitely telling you, UCF is a lock to beat Florida. I don't know who Florida plays this week. Are they off? I think they're off this week. Yeah, I think they're off this week. They play Florida. They play UCF next. That's gonna be the job defining game because Gus Malzahn is your next coach in Florida. Number 3, Ohio State at Michigan State. This is an interesting one. Ohio State finally plays somebody. Kudos to them. Who you got, Richman?
I got Ohio State.
Do they cover?
That's a lot. I don't know.
I don't particularly like this Ohio State team, man. I don't like what I've seen so far. What about you, Fish?
You said they've actually played somebody, but you forgot to do the air quotes. Because who is Michigan State? To me, they're just they might as well be Mississippi State to me. I mean,
Michigan State's 3-1 right now, guys. They're 3-1.
Who have they played yet? Who have they played so far? Any Big Ten games?
Who's Ole Miss? And Ole Miss is ranked in the top 5.
No. I just mean no. Yeah. I just mean who have they played? I don't know who they've beaten.
I don't really know. I know this is Jonathan Smith from the old Oregon State coach, and so I'm trying to give Michigan State a little oomph behind their sail. But I agree with you, man. I think I just seen somebody besides. I mean, who'd they play last week? Ohio State played. It was the noon game. They had some trouble with them.
It was a team. It was Ohio. It wasn't Ohio University. But it was a team from Ohio, I think. Was it Bowling Green?
Maybe. I don't know. I got Ohio State in this. They probably cover, but I just haven't
Either
seen
way,
this
yeah.
great Ohio
That's
State
offense.
team that we've been seeing, that we've been talked about. Number 20, Oklahoma State. Number 23, Kansas State. Fish, who you got in this one? They're giving Kansas State 4.5 points, but Kansas State got their crap beat out of them by BYU last week, and they're supposed to win too. Who you got?
No, I think the Thor comes back out. And he has a good game. I think they win and cover because Oklahoma State's not that great.
Okay. Richman, who you got?
K-State.
K-State. I think K-State redeems themselves. They're at home. They're not going to let it happen twice. 4.5 points is not much. I think Oklahoma State gets out of the top 25. Yeah, kind of pushes Kansas State slash K-State slash Utah as being kind of the top of the Big 12. Arkansas, number 24, Texas A&M, giving Texas A&M 4 at home. Arkansas looked better on offense. I think Petrino's done some miracles with them. I think they're a play or two away from being 4-0 right here. This is interesting. Who do you have, Fish?
Give me. I love an upset, and I like Grant, and I like Arkansas. Give me Arkansas.
At Texas A&M. This is a 3:30 game. Who do you got, Richman?
I got Arkansas as well.
Arkansas, man. I'll go against the grain. I like Elko in this one, man. They kind of, when they beat Florida, they stumbled upon, is this a Connor Wigman or an Allen? This is the young guy with a little more wheels. I like this kid a lot. I think he rejuvenates and kind of gives. Connor Wigman was supposed to be so promising this year, but give me Texas A&M. It's a squeaker, man. 4 might be too much, maybe a field goal, 2-point conversion in there, but I like Texas A&M at home. It's hard to play, man, in Kyle Field. Hard to play there.
It is.
19, Illinois, man. Illinois has shocked me. At Penn State, this is actually a game for Penn State, and they're giving Penn State, this is a whiteout game, though, at night. Illinois, 17.5 for Penn State. Who you got? Richman?
I'll take Illinois.
Ooh. 17.5 to Penn State, huh? Whiteout. All right.
This is supposed to be the year that Penn State gets out from underneath the Ohio State and Michigan, one or the other shadow.
Well,
This is
they
the Penn
a lot
State
of
playoff
people
run this year.
start Saturday.
A lot of talking heads are talking, of this is Penn State's, not year, but that they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
Illinois is surprising a lot of people. I would love to see an upset because I don't like Jeff Franklin, or I don't like him at all. I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's just at a university that, yeah. So, or I would love to see an upset, but I think State's going to win that whiteout. I don't think they cover though. I think it's a lot closer.
Night game, whiteout, no cover for me either. I think Penn State wins, but 17.5, way too much against Illinois. Arizona at number 10, Utah. Utah's getting 11 on Arizona. Arizona they have a bunch of great players. I think they've underperformed this year.
One of the biggest letdowns of the season so far.
I agree, man.
Arizona
I agree. But here's the thing.
Here's
the thing. Give me Arizona, man, because they haven't won any game they're supposed to. Maybe they'll win this one. This is a 10:30 game, guaranteed, like snoozer for Utah, right? Cam Rising might not play. Upset. I got upset alert on this one. They finally play the right game. Give me Arizona in this one. Who you got, Fish?
I'll take Utah at home, but again, they're not covering, I don't think, because Arizona's got some talent. But funny things happen in Utah, man. I watched that Florida game last year, and that seems like it's not a crazy hard place to play, but it's not an easy place to go get a win either. So I'll take Utah. Pac-12
Beautiful
guard, baby.
Beautiful field, beautiful campus, beautiful field. Who you got, Richman?
Utah,
the Utes. Stanford at Clemson. We're coming to our end. Stanford at Clemson. Clemson's that Clemson win is looking a little bit better, right, for Georgia?
It is
21.5 on Stanford. They could go to 3-1 with a bye week and getting ready to face the slate of ACC. I'm sorry, 4-1. 21.5. Who you got, Richman?
I'll take the Clems.
The Clems of Clemson, the Dabo, the Swinnies of Swinville. You think they cover?
No, I don't.
What do you got, Fish? Clemson?
Who did Stanford go to last week and beat? It was a game they weren't supposed to win. Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse. Clemson. What? I want to pick Stanford so bad, but I want Clemson to win and continue to improve for our sake.
Yeah, give me
Clemson.
Yeah, give me Clemson, and I like what the offense showed last week. How horrible is North Carolina in the ACC? James Madison
James
hung
Madison, baby.
50 points on them in a half.
No, 70.
Sorry,
and a
70.
half. Okay, my
You
bad.
see what Mac Brown said?
What do you say?
He said he would retire if they can't get better immediately.
Jesus, Lord, give me
if you
Clemson
give
too.
up 70 to a group of 5 team at home, bro.
That was bad, dude.
Yeah,
The ball was
that's
just
terrible.
flying, man, flying everywhere.
And who's their
All
D
right,
coordinator? Isn't he a good guy? Gene Chizik, isn't that still the defensive coordinator for North Carolina?
maybe Ray Charles. I have no idea.
Ray Charles.
I have no idea, bro, who that is.
It was Gene Chizik.
Yikes. He might need to run for Congress again in Alabama.
It just goes to show you anybody can be a head coach at Auburn.
Ooh, man, oh man. All right, and our last game of the night as we wrap up. Let's hear it, man. We got 7:30 actually ABC 7:30. Number 4 Alabama, number 2 Georgia. Right now on a Tuesday at 7:41 p.m. they're giving Georgia 2 points. Richman, I'll give it to you first.
I got Georgia
for age and knowledge, obviously purposes. Who do you got first?
Georgia 30-28.
Ooh, you're taking those 2 points, huh? You're like,
Do you know the
safe
history?
here.
Do you know the history of 30 points in the UGA versus Bama?
I do not.
The team that gets to 30 points is 22-0.
Ooh, wow, did not know that. I hope we get to 30 early, maybe halftime.
Cool stat.
That is a really cool stat. Georgia for you, 30-28. Fish, who you got, man?
Of course, I'm taking Georgia, but I think the defense shows out. I think our touchdownless streak continues to 4 games this year.
Ooh.
I think we hold them. I think we scheme them. We got them. We've had an extra week to prepare for them. We got nothing but athletes on that side of the ball. Mikael Williams comes back because Kirby's playing possum with him. And Nate Milroe can't do anything. Nothing. Malachi holds the back end down. KJ Bolden gets some playing time. Maybe even has an interception because they're going to throw the ball deep. They're going to go deep. So I think we win 28-12. 4 field goals.
I like how I changed your demeanor from
28-12.
From I'm a little nervous about this game to, man, I love that, man. I am as confident as you are, my friend. I think this is and if I'm not confident, then what the hell are we doing, man? Like we have a team that is loaded. Like it's a loaded team, man. Kirby right here earns his money. T-Rob earns his money right here. Schumann earns his money. Bobo earns his money and possibly his future on this one. It's got to be. If it's not,
it's huge.
This podcast looks a lot different for a lot of fans next week because we're going to be looking, going, hey, man, have we ever seen if this defense is still giving up no touchdowns or giving up minimal yards with a touchdown here or there, and the offense can't score? Is Kirby going to allow this year to be wasted on a great defense and a great team effort for the offense not to produce? I would say it would be very early on, but it would have to be a shakeup. And I don't know what that shakeup is, but I do know James Coley is sitting around our campus as well. That didn't work out for us. I'm not saying that's the answer, but I am saying I'm hoping we're leaning into and exhausting all of our efforts into making sure that we understand we have a great offense, we have great players, we have a great coaching staff. It's their job to, when they walk out to all those irritating elephant noises, that they understand that winning the moment, they were built for that moment. Kirby Smart has them built for that moment. This is Kalen DeBoer. You're not playing Nick Saban. You're not playing a name. You're just going out there and you're playing another team. That's what we got to get out of their head. So I got Georgia in this one. I think we do lose that touchdown streak, but I will tell you this. I do think that I agree with Richman. Now you just changed my mind. So I'm going to say 31 and I'm going to say 17. I think there's some touchdowns and field goals mixed in there because Milroe is going to be kept to, but I will tell you, if we're not wreaking havoc on Milroe, if he is allowed to sit back there and just diagnose and run and just kind of surgically operate, it's going to be a long night, man. It's going to be a night where I just want to turn the TV off. I want to see people flying at him and causing him a lot of confusion. So Hey
Don't
guys, this
overrun
was
him.
fun.
Don't
overrun him. Don't overrun him, man.
over-pursue
Hey,
him.
it's been a really great night, man. It's been a cool Georgia Alabama show. This is going to be a great week. Once again, stay safe. This is a week where there's a tropical storm hurricane. Hopefully this gets out of the way. It's not too intense for Florida, for Georgia. Stays out of the way of Alabama to give us a dry feel for Saturday. But most importantly, man, keep everybody safe in its path.
My wife, the Auburn fan, said that the game. What if one of the possible tracks for that hurricane is it to go up and hang a left, kind of go towards Alabama, and it's going to be rolling right through that area about the same time, around Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that game might be a
tricky,
wet
man.
game. It might be.
Could be tricky, man. Could be tricky.
All
hey,
I
guys.
got to say is, go dogs! Ooh, 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 ooh.
Come on, man. Come on. I love it, man. Hey, you guys, thanks for joining. If you have not done so, please go like, follow Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. If you haven't done it, do it. Apple Podcast 24 hours from now. We are out. And as always, looking for a Georgia win this week against Alabama. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby.